Hi, welcome back to my channel. If you're thinking about buying property in Cancun or the Mayan Riviera, there is something very important you must understand. The price you see online is not the final price. Today, I'm going to break down the real cost of buying property in Mexico, including taxes, fees, and hidden costs that most people don't want to talk about. Because if you don't know this, you could seriously underestimate your budget. If you watched my previous video about how foreigners can buy property in Cancun, you already know that yes, it is completely legal and safe. But once you understand that, there is always a question. How much do I actually need? And that is what we're going to cover today. Let's start with a very common misconception. When you see a property listed at, let's say, 300,000 USD, most buyers assume that is the total amount they need. But in reality, in Mexico, especially in areas like Cancun and the Mayan Riviera, you should plan for an additional 5% to 10% on top of the purchase price. And in some cases, especially for foreigners buying in coastal areas, it can go even higher depending on the legal structure and services involved. So this is not a small difference. We're talking about 15,000 to 30,000 USD extra or even more. And this is where many buyers get surprised because nobody explained this clearly at the beginning. Let's break down exactly where that money goes. This is usually the largest single cost. In Mexico, this tax typically ranges from 2 to 5% of the property value. So for a 300,000 property, this alone could be 6,000 to 15,000 USD. And something important to understand, this tax is often based on the official assets value, not always the negotiated price. In Mexico, a notary plays a much bigger role than in other countries. They are responsible for validating the transaction, calculating taxes, and registering the property. Without a notary, the transaction is not legally valid. Their fees typically range around 1% to 2% of the property value. So again, 3,000 to 6,000 USD. These include title registration, certificates, no liens, no debts, appraisal. These usually represent 0.5% to 1% of the property value, plus fixed costs of around 500 to 1,500 USD. If you are buying near the coast, like Cancun, Playa del Carmen, or Puerto Morelos, you are in the restricted zone. So you will need a bank trust. Setup cost around 1,000 to 3,000 USD. Annual fee around 500 to 1,000 USD per year. And something very important, this is not a lease and you fully control the property. Even though the notary is involved, many buyers choose to work with a private lawyer. Typical cost 1,000 to 3,000 USD. Professional services in Mexico include 16% value-added tax, so some costs may be slightly higher than expected. Let's make this very practical. If you're buying a property for 300,000 USD, here's a realistic breakdown. Acquisition tax, 6,000 to 12,000. Notary, 3,000 to 6,000. Registry and administration, 1,500 to 3,000, Fideicomiso setup, 1,500 to 2,500, legal and extras, 1,000 to 3,000. Total estimated closing costs, 15,000 to 30,000 USD. So your real total investment becomes 315,000 to 330,000 USD. Now let's talk about costs after you buy the property. If you're buying in a condo, 100 to 500 USD or more per month, depending on amenities and location. Here's some good news. Property taxes in Mexico are very low, often just a few $100s per year, and this is one of the biggest advantages compared to other countries. If you plan to rent your property management is between 15% to 30%, and cleaning and maintenance. Many buyers forget this. Furnishing can cost $10,000 to $30,000 USD, especially for vacation rentals. Now let's talk about mistakes I see all the time. Many buyers only plan for the purchase price. Closing costs are paid in pesos, so if the exchange rate changes, your final cost changes too. Always ask for a detailed cost estimate before committing. Cheaper properties can come with higher maintenance, poor location, and lower rental demand. Some buyers think they don't really own the property. That is not true. At the end of the day, buying property in Mexico is not just about the price. It's about understanding the full financial picture, because a good investment is not just about what you pay. It's about how everything works together. If you're considering buying property in Cancun or the Mayan Riviera, send me a message with the word cost, and I'll help you understand exactly what your budget should look like based on your goals. And if you haven't watched my previous video about how foreigners can buy property in Mexico, I leave it in the description below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content about real estate and investing in Mexico. And I'll see you in the next video.